My name's David Huff,
And I'm Ed Tilton.
and you're listening to Startling Confessions of a Recovered Addict.
Good morning. We are excited today to be joined by our guest, Blake Johnson. Blake, when you're ready, tell us your startling confession.
Sure. Hey, guys, thanks for having me. My name's Blake, and my startling confession would actually be from my last day drinking. And what happened there is I woke up I kind of snapped to from, a multiple day blackout, and I was living in my parents' house, and I had been throwing up this dried blood from my intestines, which would often happen when I would drink the way I was drinking. And so the room looked like, it was a pretty gnarly scene. It looked like a bad Stephen King movie or something in there. And I ended up trying to go get another bottle, was intercepted by my mother. And long story short, we ended up on our way to the hospital, which was a pretty regular occurrence at this point in my life. On the way to the hospital, I was pretty agitated and sick and just not feeling well. And in the midst of that, I laid back in my seat and I kicked out her windshield. And she had to pull over into a mechanics shop parking lot, at which point she starts calling 911 to get an ambulance. And I get out of the car while the employees of the shop come out, and they're curious what's going on. Mm-hmm. I'm belligerently drunk, really sick, really agitated. Try shoving these employees who are trying to help me off of me. And I kind of create a scene. And I remember in the midst of that, I look at my mom, someone who I adore, who's done nothing but love and support me, through years of wreckage. And she was terrified of me. And that was a very sobering moment. I just remember that distinctly. It was like a shift or just this internal moment that was just really tough for me to experience, and just to see that reaction from my mother, someone I adore and who's done nothing but love and support me.
Mm. Wow. And so what would you say that story meant to you? Like, what would you want that story to mean to other people?
Yeah, good question. So like I said at the beginning of that was my last drink, leading up to that experience. And so whatever happened internally there, this was not my first debacle of this type. I'd been to about a dozen treatment centers leading up to this, lots of attempts at sobriety. And whatever happened in that moment, I guess just made me recognize, where at this point I had gotten to, that was just like, oh my goodness, who have I become? What am I doing? I am just horrified at who I've become, this kind of person who could create that kind of reaction from such a good, loving person like my mom. And so that was kind of this first step. I didn't understand what was happening at the time. But that was this first step towards really surrendering to something's got to change. I cannot keep doing this. And I had a wealth of experience before this event of past attempts at long-term sobriety, to know that I also cannot do this on my own. I've really got to surrender to, to whatever I've got to do here. And I just know that's not going to come from like my plans in my head. I'm going to need some help, and so
how
I think
old
just
were
that.
you?
Yeah. So I was 25 when I got sober. I got sober on March 3rd of 2017, and was 25 then.
Wow.
Awesome. What a great story. One of the things we like to ask our guest is, what do you do to keep yourself on this path of recovery that you found? Do you have a daily practice that helps with this?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's something that's really developed, over the past years. And when I got sober, I really immersed myself into the 12-step fellowships, got a sponsor, went through the steps, and that's kind of where I learned this daily practice, these things that I could do, that seemed to be really effective, at not just keeping me sober, but to really access, this kind of freedom, and this kind of life that I was seeing others experience and that I desperately wanted. And so there's a number of things: prayer and meditation in the morning. And I also really believe in this nightly routine of reviewing my day and recognizing kind of these patterns, just to impact change in my life. And so there's a number of things daily that I do, but the one thing that seems to kind of be the linchpin for me is my community. I try to stay really active, in my recovery community with my close friends, as well as the larger community as a whole. And what seems to happen is that when I'm really in the middle of that herd, when I'm really wrapped up in that community, a lot of these other things just kind of fall into line. When I'm in the middle of my community, I'm much more likely to implement this daily routine into my life, including the prayer and meditation in the morning, nightly review at night, as well as some thoughts and attitudes and perspectives to hold throughout my day that tend to make my living experience a little bit more enjoyable.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense, Blake. We heard that over and over, that connection is just such a huge part in not only the recovery process, but also people who are connected are happier people. They see the joy in life. Mm-hmm. And those two things seem to kind of go hand in hand. So beautiful. Thank you for being with us today and providing us with your startling confession and your remarkable recovery.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Welcome back, folks. We're excited for today's episode. We had a great conversation with a gentleman named Blake Johnson. We're really excited about it. Make sure to listen for his moment of clarity. It's something you don't want to miss.
That's right. And speaking of Blake, one of the things that was just, for me, was so exciting is Blake got sober at what for me is pretty young age, 25 years old. And yet he's continued to work towards his own recovery. He's not willing to stop. He's continuing to move forward. And he mentioned a couple of specific practices that helped keep him on the beam. And he was just it was a great time being with Blake today. So happy we were able to have him here. What'd you get out of it? Any thoughts about actions we might take and share with our friends here today that might benefit their life?
Yeah, the thing that I really took away from Blake's story was his piece about community, and when he said that piece about when he's in the middle of his community, he's doing the best. And the thing that I've experienced in terms of community and connection is really consistency.
Mhm.
And, the practice, for me is to be able to call people, throughout the day that I want to have a stronger connection with, or that I feel like might be a good connection for me. And so what's amazing is oftentimes people won't answer, but you leave them a voicemail. And then it's a great gift to get that back where they give you a call and say, "Hey, I got your voicemail. Thanks for giving me a call. Thanks for thinking of me. I've been thinking of you too." And then we go from a place of oftentimes feeling disconnected to, to thought of and appreciated.
Mm.
And so the homework or activity that I would challenge all of our listeners today is be intentional about calling 3 people that you want to have a stronger connection with, or a more positive connection with, for 7 days. And tell us about your experience, your journey, in the in our Facebook group, or on the Sparrow website. We'd love to hear how that went for you. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Have a beautiful day.